report to everybody, including George Varugis, the Nepal resident representative, Nepal director. I think he was deputy director at the time. There was an American fellow of Asia Foundation, which was told to be by this guy, George, Devraj Dahal of Frederick Evert Stiftung. Right after I had met George Varugis, sometimes right after that report was sent out, 2001, he had told me it's an American front. Basically, he was saying intelligence organization, but it didn't bother me, as I've written in the Twitter thread. At that time, for my Nepali nationalist self, Nepal needed a third country balancer between India and China. So I took it in stride, so to speak. Even if it was so, it was the way it was. It really didn't bother me that much. But anyway, as I've written in the Twitter thread, after I sent, I was meant to send all that reports to Sushil Pyakural's international contacts and domestic, Nepal resident international contacts, local representative, including this guy George Varugis, so of Asia Foundation. So after I sent that, and I stopped right there. After Madhav Nepal told me it was a military coup, and then the experience with this boy Gagan Rana, what had happened, he'd wrecked the camera anyway. So I had footage, I had some interview with the voice recording, but at the last moment, the very last interview with Mother Nepal, I think I didn't even manage to get the recording. I just talked to him because the video camera didn't work. The boy had wrecked it. So obviously it was again army coup, army backed coup, army dominated at the time by British client family called Rana, but their real name is Kaur. I call them Kaur, criminal Kaurs. They had been ruling Nepal for 104 years till 1950, and after that, the riches were still there, and their descendants are still, really filthy rich, as you would put it, in Nepal. They're the richest. No riches compared to their riches in Nepal. So after that, I stopped, but then I sent the impression. I don't know whether I included Madhav Nepal's impression on it because Madhav Nepal really stopped me, the leader of the opposition who quit the three-member investigation committee announced by newly installed uh, king who came after, obviously a coup d'etat, a bloody coup, massacring his own brother, the regnant king, King Birendra, and the rest of the family. So Mother Nepal quit because he didn't want to be part of the SAM investigation. So after I sent those reports, as a reward, this guy Sushil Pyakural then gave me a contact number of two people. One was Sailendra Sigdal. Among, I think those were the only two, or I can't quite recall. I think those were the only two. Sailendra Sigdal of Enabling State Program of then the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office's Department for International Development, I think DFID, a project called Enabling State Program in Nepal. Sailendra Sigdal, I don't think he was the very head of the entire ESP program, but something to do with governance, democracy at all. All those nice, cute things that are sold in third world countries. So, and then this George Varugis guy. So, so obviously I called him and I went to meet him. When I called him, it was very interesting. Right when I called him, he instantly recognized who I was. Very, obviously an Intel person. So he knew who I was. When I told him my name, that the name that I don't want to associate with. Obviously, I know now that name was never supposed to be mine. It's the horror of my life, another horror, lifelong horror, and then re-horror put through by the empire for the last 18 years, almost 2 decades. So I told him what my name was. He immediately said, I mean, very, very striking thing. Nothing has happened to you. That's what he said. I mean, he asked me, nothing has happened to you for sending that report. So, I just said, well, I mean, I didn't care. I mean, I was showing some bravado, but at the same time, I was like, wow, this is a bit, you know, uh, concerning. So he said that. I mean, nothing, nobody, I mean, nothing happened to you. No, he didn't even say nobody contacted you. He just plain said nothing happened to you for sending that report. And nobody, and then said nobody's contacted you. So that guy was obviously, I mean, if Devraj Dal of Fredrik Stiftung, obviously a front organization for intelligence intelligence operation for the advanced developed civilized countries in Nepal, starting with obviously the German own Bundesnachrichtendienst, the federal intelligence agency, and then through them, rest of the other intelligence agencies. So and then Nepal head guy, so probably considered a local Nepali asset. He knew about everything. I mean, meaning this guy George Varghese obviously knew everything. So that's what he said. So I mean, perhaps I should have you know considered that as a threat. I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether he meant to give that. I mean, kind of let me know it as a very serious affair, a threat. I don't know. But I mean, well, I mean, obviously it is hindsight being 2020. But at the time, I didn't understand it. So I went to see him again later. I mean, because as I've written in, I became a kind of a development war as this development business goes around in third world country. So I needed to run that, create a project out of the online journal I was running. So I went around to see him, and I went with actually this guy, Razan Bhattrai, who come to rape the girl, who was the de facto Nepal security advisor for the prime minister at the time, Nepal Prime Minister, this guy KB Woli. Last time I left Nepal, we nearly stopped. I mean, I have to yet write down in the Twitter thread and the video as well. Nearly shot actually in the airport in the morning of during the day of August 21, uh, 2018. So again, when I went to see him, obviously for being relevant as well, you need to create a project. I didn't really need to create a project. I mean, I had my own online journal. I had organized discussed it, but then just to be relevant, basically what the development or programs does, it creates hordes out of people. You have to surrender. You're bound to succumb. I mean, otherwise you're you're nobody in your own society, in your state. So I went to see him, and then he didn't offer any support, but then that was his main concern, and perhaps that's the reason he didn't offer any support. And I'll get back to you. I mean, I'll get back to this thing about how he later on he became. I kept on meeting him. I mean, I met him I think at least twice more later on. I mean, when I was already thoroughly wrecked, and you would have all obviously known about it. So when I went to see him again, I think sometimes in 2000, I mean after probably, 2000, I mean 2000. I think I called him right after I was given contact. That was 2001 itself. Later on, but I didn't go to see him. So I think I went to see him in 2002 after I had my journal started in earnest. So I went to see him, and that was his main question again. Nothing has happened to you. Nobody contacted you. That was the time. I mean, over the phone, he had said nothing has happened to you, and then nobody has contacted you. And then when I went to see him, he was like, nothing has happened to you yet. Nobody's. I mean, nobody ever contacted you on that report. So again, I, I sometimes what happens to me is I take these things in stride, given the uh, life I've lived in constant threat, constant abuse. I mean, I just store it for later retrieval, but I mean, I just had to move on. So, so, so that was really, I mean, that makes sense now, putting it in context. You know, the Royal Massacre was, again, international intel operation.